Great. We're live. Oh, hello. I can see myself. There I am. It's Gibbo with Josh, and we're going to talk about the game today and talk about the things the Anfield Wrap have got planned today and talk about how confident we are. So first of all, Josh, how are you? How are you feeling about it all?
I'm feeling all right now. It's weird. I'm completely sort of zen with the whole operation, which I'm not sure was the way I was going to feel on match day. It's usually like the closer to kickoff it gets, the more nervous I feel. But I think like a lot of things in life, really, it's about the sort of internal conversation you have with yourself, isn't it? And I suppose I've got excited about the idea of one of the new centre halves playing, which you were hopefully going to see. And we did a subscriber Zoom drinks on Friday, and one of the lads in that said that it's sort of the reverse of 2 seasons ago where we went to the Etihad and we had the chance to go 10 points clear. It's obviously the sort of 2mm goal game where Leroy Sané scores to make it 2-1, and all of a sudden City are only 7 points behind, and they go on and win the league. So I suppose basing it off that logic alone, there's sort of hope going into it when maybe it didn't feel like there was before.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? It's, the pressure, where does the pressure lie and things like that. But what I would say is about that City game is that their fans were really up for it that day. And I know, we like to poke fun at the Etihad, and it's largely just because it's fun. But to be fair, that league game, it was a boss atmosphere in there, and that's what gets frustrating today, isn't it? Is the under normal circumstances, well, hey, I'd be in a bar. You'd be in tobacco. But you'd be ready up to go, and you'd be kind of thinking, well, how can we make the difference today? And I know we talk about it every week, to a certain extent, but it is today feeling like one, I'd love to be there, just getting behind the boys, and obviously making it a bit of a hostile atmosphere for them as well.
Yeah, and I seen a piece from, I think it was Mark Critchley, who's one of the Manchester journalists before, which basically said Guardiola's record at Anfield's awful, but this isn't Anfield as he sort of knows it, obviously with 50,000 fans sort of screaming vitriol at him and his team. And I think that's probably the thing that we're sort of struggling with the most as supporters, is the idea that we can't go and get behind the team, particularly when things are going bad the way they are, because you almost wonder whether you can give 1% or 2%, or whether a refereeing decision goes your way just because you get behind it as fans and call the referee a knobhead, or whether you can sort of suck it in from the cop, get the ball in the net, and just give them that little bit that they need, because at the moment that's what sort of feels like they're missing, is the little something marginal which Liverpool haven't quite sort of got with this season. And obviously there's the injuries, and there's all sorts of discussions you can have around luck, which I know opposition fans will sort of want to poke fun at, but I do genuinely think Liverpool's luck this season, just with injuries alone, if you don't even look beyond that, has been rubbish. So I'm still hopeful going into this one. Like I said, it would be quite nice to see one of the new lads. I feel like that would sort of just give you that little bit of boost. I don't know whether that translates to the players, whether that's just we as fans would be excited to see a Kabak or a Davis, but you'd like to think that someone fresh in there with new ideas might just help.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout, and we're going to bring in some of the comments. I'm monitoring comments on Facebook, and I know Josh is on the YouTube. So if you're watching on one of those platforms, do put any questions in, or any just comments, or any up to dates that you want to sort of kind of throw in there as well. And Justin Ling's been on. And Justin was talking about the centre halves and asking about sort of the situation with Kabak and Davis. And it's funny you say there, Josh, because I've not really thought about that, because for us it might be, we're all like, oh yeah, new lad, we can get all excited. But I guess for the players, it's a different one for them, isn't it? And familiarity might be what they sort of have to really, so if, say, Kabak comes in, then who do you play him alongside? Does someone like Nat Phillips want to play? If you ask Nat Phillips if you're going to play centre-half against City, who would you want alongside? Yeah, he'd probably say Hendo, because, he's played a few times with him now. He knows that they've done okay together. The results might not have always been the best, but in terms of as a partnership and as a record, kind of it's been okay, really. We're all expecting Ali to come back in this one. Would he rather have a couple of lads he knows in front of him? And so it's hard, I guess it is what I'm saying. And I know, a few fans are like, oh, you got to throw the new lads in, you got to get them back in. But, yeah, you're gonna have to think of everything, won't he? But up to including what would the players be after in this, and also what's fair on the new lads coming in. You don't want to end someone's Liverpool career before it even starts.
Yeah, and I suppose that's a worry, isn't it? Like particularly with Kabak, I know he's sort of like the marquee signing of the two, albeit with Michael Edwards has managed to sort of have Schalke's pants down a bit in terms of what Liverpool will end up paying or what they have paid up front. But yeah, he is a 20-year-old lad, and you're throwing him into a massive game, which has so much riding on it. And I suppose if he has, for the last few weeks, you've seen the Reece Williams moments that he's had, and I don't believe for a second that Reece Williams doesn't have a future at Liverpool. I believe he's got a big future in football at the very least. I think he's a great player, but he's made those two costly mistakes in that Manchester United game, and now it looks like he'll probably be set for a stint with the 23s. So yeah, you're right to sort of point that out, and I wonder whether it's as much a thing for the fullbacks as it is for anybody else. Like I sort of imagine that whoever you put alongside one of these new centre halves, or even if you manage to do the two together, and you were asking Alisson behind them, I think they would just be professionals who would sort of get on with their job and say, look, they're my Liverpool teammates. I'll play with whoever's about. They're obviously good enough to be here, kind of thing. It's more the way that the fullbacks play and the way that the centre halves sort of feed into that, because I think you've seen it a few times this season where Trent in particular has sort of struggled in terms of how much he's allowed to get forward when that ball's put into the channel and things like that. And I just wonder if you had a Kabak alongside him, does that help Trent? Does it hinder Trent? It's I suppose that's one you sort of have to see, and Klopp will have a better idea than us from the few training sessions he's had with Kabak and all the obviously the sort of scouting reports he had on him before he joined. But it would be quite nice to see those fullbacks sort of play with some adventure today, because I feel like that they're the games that Liverpool have sort of not done well in this season are the ones where the fullbacks haven't maybe had that adventure. So I think maybe setting up with whatever suits them best would be the way to go.
Yeah, that's a fair shout there. And, if they've got new lads next to them, are they being a bit more cautious, and are they sort of watching themselves a little bit, if they're not necessarily sure? And that can be a subconscious thing as much as anything, really. So for them, that's a really good show. I see some confidence in the comments as well. Dennis Boyd saying Liverpool will beat the Manx 3-1. You hear it here. Dennis, if it's 3-1, I'll think of you. An interesting one from Kashif here, because he's saying he's not nervous about the game in the slightest. He says it'll be a test, but we'll raise our game for these. But then he said he thinks it'll be Hendo and Fabinho at centre half, which is interesting. I've not seen that sort of mentioned too many times as an option, but he has done that as a centre half partnership, hasn't he, Josh? So I think we're talking a lot about, is he going to be Hendo and Phillips, or will he bring one of the new lads in and stuff? But he did Hendo and Fab against Man United, who were sort of as close as opposition as you're going to get to City in terms of quality and in terms of what they sort of offer up front. And so that's something he might do again, which will do people's heads in. But you'll sort of understand it in terms of the pace and mobility and dynamism City have got up top.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, I think we've maybe been a bit guilty of putting Nat Phillips in a box as a centre half, and I think he's probably a better footballer than most of us do give him credit for. But ultimately, we put him in that box because they are his strengths, and his strengths are battling. We saw it against Antonio in the West Ham game. We've seen it in a few other games this season as well. How well he battles with them strikers, how he's on the front foot in terms of his clearances, his blocks, and all those kinds of things. And I think that's maybe where Nat Phillips is suited best, but that's not what City are going to offer up in this game. Like you say, it's going to be Sterling cutting off the left-hand side. It's going to be the mobility and sort of playing off the shoulder of Gabriel Jesus. And you just wonder whether that does suit a Henderson or a Fabinho more than it does a Nat Phillips, which is mad because you're there talking about two centre midfielders and what suits them more than an actual IRL centre-back. But the one thing I did think then when you were talking about having them two at centre half was that it maybe gives the option for Chamberlain to play in midfield, and we've seen Chamberlain a few times at Anfield against City, putting in a few screamers. So maybe it's another opportunity for him today because Lord knows he needs it.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because we as you mentioned, our subscribers, we did on Friday, we shared a few classic games against City over the years and all sorts of watched them together with a beer, and it was you've got to remind yourself how often Chamberlain pops up in those with big goals, and he does seem to like them as an opposition. He's had a couple of sub performances recently, and so we might see him. We'll kind of see. still lots of people debating the centre halves on the comment here on Facebook, and everyone's picking a different partnership, which shows kind of how tricky it is, and sort of all the things that the manager's got to bear in mind in this. But going back to the other comment before, Josh, about, I think Craig's trying to join us as well. Andy, if you're able to sort of bring him in, I think he's on the Skype now. We'll get Craig in as well. But just to sort of, on the other comments about this game kind of suiting Liverpool a bit more, and I think there's something in that, you've got to respect City and they're going to be the toughest team we've played, but how you've seen us recently in terms of struggling to break teams down, and also sort of having a bit more time to think, almost, in terms of getting a bit nervous and stuff like that. There'll be no time for any of those sorts of thoughts today from this Liverpool team, and that's something that could work out as a positive, in that, it's not going to be a get to 50 and start worrying we haven't scored yet. It's not going to be that sort of game at all.
Yeah.
Right, okay, we're just going to break for 10 seconds just while we bring Craig in. So if you just bear with us here, we won't drop off. I don't think we're just going to switch. So just give us a second, and then you'll get Craig and Josh's answer. You get loads of time to think about that, Josh. So we're back in. Coonley says, nothing like listening to Tor and making sausages and eggs for brunch. That sounds wonderful. Craig, what have you had for brunch?
I had exactly that. That's why I was slightly late to this call. I was making my brekkie, eating it, oblivious to the fact that I was meant to be on a live with you two at 11 a.m.
You're on Central European time?
Yeah. It's my own time zone. But yeah, it was nice little Sunday morning. Hopefully I had 3 points at Anfield today.
So go on, Josh. You've been very patient. I can't even remember what the question is. What about you?
I think you were talking about the way this game is sort of going to pan out in terms of the way that City will play compared to the other teams, and it's a fair point, to be honest, because if you think about the centre half options, and I suppose this is like I'm sort of in the boat that you just go completely mad and you put Kabak and Davis straight in, and I mean that is an absolutely wild thing to suggest, but the thing that I keep thinking is of having Henderson and Fabinho in that midfield and not giving City the chance to sort of get out, because I think we've seen games at Anfield against City be cagey before, where both sides have shown each other a bit too much respect. But then we saw last season what happens when Liverpool just pin City back with the win at Anfield. And I think, Fabinho in particular was one who in that game was just so good. Someone's saying no audio on YouTube, by the way. I don't know if anyone else is getting that. Kieran B says no audio. Is it? Kieran B is a liar then. But we saw Fabinho at Anfield last season and how important he was to that game. Saw him getting the goal as well. So I do just wonder whether you want him in midfield for this one, because he'll be the one who's sort of the natural centre half choice, wouldn't he? I think if one of the other lads does play, then you probably bring Henderson back into midfield alongside Thiago and Wijnaldum. But there's just part of me which really wants to see that trio of Fabinho, Henderson and Thiago. But it almost feels harsh on Gini then as well to drop him out of this one.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah,
there's a few people commenting now saying it's fine.
All right, so try turning off and on again, mate. And get back to us. Craig, how many different teams have you picked for this?
Yeah, at least 5. I would say. It's my mind sort of changed every day, and I suppose right now I'm thinking Kabak. I'm thinking try one of them, and I think it feels sort of harsh on Davies. It's like that's a very short sort of settling period. I know the same can be said for Kabak, a day shorter in terms of his training, but obviously he's played at top flight in the Bundesliga, and that's been over a period of a few years. So I think I would go with him. I'm same with Josh in that I want Fabinho in there. I want Fabinho not giving Foden an inch. I want Fabinho to be there just for the fullbacks, covering them, but also I think it just will calm them down and sort of give them the a bit more freedom or feeling of freedom to push on and push forward without worrying just so much. And then as well, I think it will help Thiago massively, because I think you watch Thiago and you can see he's a brilliant footballer, but there's definitely something where he's like trying too hard to do everything in that midfield, when I think if you had Fabinho behind him just like clearing up any messes, clearing up any danger, it would allow Thiago to express himself further up the field, really. And I think that would sort of definitely benefit Liverpool. But I just think City are going to make it a dog of a game. I think they've, we talk about this blueprint that likes of Burnley and Brighton have created for opposition sides come to Anfield, and I think we won't just see it to that extent, but we'll see it done with better players, I think. And City have been really difficult to break down this season, and I think they're gonna try and do that again, because John, you did the Pep v the Klopp v Guardiola toss special with Honigstein and Roy Smith. And one of the things that I found really interesting was Honigstein talking about the idea that Pep has at different times through his career playing Jurgen, he's changed his style up to beat Klopp's teams, both at Bayern, against Dortmund the first time they played each other, and then obviously the one I always think about is the 0-0 at Anfield, where he sets up way more defensively, and they could nick it at the end with the Mahrez pen. So I think he'll change it up again. I think he'll try and make it really tight and hope that he hits Liverpool on the break late on.
Yeah, no, we'll see. I think it's funny, isn't it? I was thinking a lot about the game a few years ago at Anfield that finishes 0-0, and they actually miss a penalty. Mahrez, I think it was, sort of hits it over the bar, doesn't he, and late. But that was a bit of a document game, and I was thinking, Brighton, the way Brighton frustrated us was getting men behind the ball, but also when they got it, they kept it well, and City will be able to do that obviously times 10. So that's the sort of concern for me, that the first half we just see a lot of City just keeping the ball and being sort of not necessarily too ambitious with it, but sort of killing it in that way, really. And a draw is a fine result for them. I take the point that there's never a better time to come to Anfield in a way, and just sort of lost that home record and no fans and things like that. But I think Pep will be sort of bigger picture as well, and we'll know that a sort of point, especially with United dropping points yesterday, just puts them a step closer to where they want to be, which is obviously champions again. But we shall see. We shall see. A few more comments coming in. Lots of people sort of picking teams and things like that. In terms of Kabak, it's funny as well when you talk about throwing Kabak in. I wonder how many people have seen him Megan Trent in training and just gone, oh yeah, he's ready.
It's like the Thiago trick, isn't it? Where
with the Milner
hit it in from behind the goal, and the Milner's looking on. Yeah, if he looks good in training, just lash him straight in. That's where I'm at. Michael Walker commented by the way, saying Neil looks like a breakfast bomb, or is that one of his sad tops? It's really made me laugh.
I'd love a breakfast top. I might look into them. It's that kind of advert you get served on Facebook on like Very or something, isn't it? Like a big breakfast, like them KFC pants.
Do you ever get served the t-shirts with your own name on them? That's you,
that mate.
Is it, Jay? That's just my search history.
No, I'll get the KFC trackie. The women's underwear for men. I get a lot. A working amount, to be honest. But anyway. So in terms of, I just want to talk about a few things to expect from the Anfield Wrap. Then obviously lots of people engage with us, and that's great. But a few things to look out for today. We do have my commentary, and it's really popular, more popular than ever at the moment. People are getting a bit fed up with whoever the commentators are, where you are, and want to come and join us. So me and Neil are doing that. It's 4:30 kickoff. We'll be on a little bit earlier, so hopefully from about 4:15. And we'll do our commentary along with the game. So you should be able to sync it with your telly. If not, we'll do plenty of time checks so you can pause and things like that. But it's good fun to watch it together. The chat's always a good laugh as well. Loads of people just watch it together. And obviously we're missing that at the moment. I'd say no matter where you're tuned into us today in the world, something will be different about sort of where you are. And so a lot of people have enjoyed watching it together with Liverpool fans and doing it all together. And so yeah, if you want to come and join us on Hot Mic, it's completely free. When you download the app, we just ask you to use the referral code Anfield Wrap, or one word, Anfield Wrap, that is the referral code, and so that helps us out. But it's completely free to download, and we'll be doing the commentary and get involved from there. Also, straight after the game for us, we'll be doing the post-match show. So audio and video, post-match immediate reaction, hopefully to a Liverpool win. So loads are going on for the Anfield Wrap today. Obviously, across all our social media channels, we'll be covering it best we can as well. But not unfortunately from the ground, Craig, and that's a bit of a blow. Me and Josh were talking about that earlier. I bet you're smarting by that as well. You'd be out by now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, with you. I mean, it's important, Dad, that you be the one texting me. No, it's a two-way street, isn't it? No, I think that's the difficult thing. I don't even believe it's the fact that we're not in the ground, because obviously we'd love that. We'd love to be crowing about the fact that we're champions, and we'd love to be sort of helping the team through this period, because I think we would have. And I mean, there's been a lot of debate around sort of Liverpool missing fans and everyone missing fans and how that's affected their team and so on. But I really think it would have helped us this season. And I think that's the difficult thing about this season, is the fact that we just haven't been able to. Obviously, you got to go to the Spurs game, and a certain number of fans have been able to sort of show their appreciation, but a full stadium hasn't. It's just even the fact that we can't watch it with anyone. Like, it's not even the ground thing now, because I think we're sort of used to watching football on TV now, and there being no fans in the ground, and I know fans all around the world will say, well, there's only 50,000, 55,000 get to watch it from the ground. But I think it's just the fact of not being able to watch it together in your groups, in your communities, with your supporters clubs, and I think that's the difficult thing right now. But also, like, the football's been like a thing to look forward to in a way that we've often talked about football being like an escape each weekend from like sort of the grind of normal life, but it's never been more sort of necessary now in that regard. So I'm just sort of thankful that we've got it through this lockdown, and it's not like the first one without it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was still looking forward to today. You'd like the Reds to be going in a slightly better form, but I'm sure that'll all get forgotten, and certainly will for me once the game starts, and we're all sorts of, shouting them on and roaring them into tackles. Anything else from anyone before we sort of call it a morning?
Do you think, John, I was just going to ask you, do you think that this is, I don't mean the perfect game right now, because it obviously isn't, because Man City are top, but do you think it's it's a good game for us to have at home now? Because I think that it just feels like we need something where everyone goes, right, it's City, come on. Do you know, that sort of thing?
I think so. I think, look, I'd probably like it a little bit further down the line in terms of the centre-half situation. So I think, if... the only concern on the timing thing is that, we haven't had a chance for, it would have been lovely if Kabak would have had a nice little warm-up game where, we went 2-0 and, he hasn't got too much to do, but sort of looks all right. I think that would have been ideal. So from a timing point of view, the only thing that's a slight negative is that, as I say, is the centre-half situation, and we haven't had a chance to sort of, to blood anyone, in the run-up to this. But in terms of the actual way the game is, and in terms of, the style of game, I think the squad need. I think you're right, and they'll be so determined. They look pissed off after Brighton, to be honest with you. And it was the first time I've sort of seen that, really. Like, they've looked other times like a bit fed up and frustrated, but like Henderson in particular looked angry coming off the pitch against Brighton. Like, I was like, how are we back here? Do you know what I mean? We'd won 2 games, and there was sort of a different vibe on social from them as well. It wasn't like in that run of draws, it was like, there was a lot of like frustrating, but we'll work hard in training, we'll bounce back type thing. Like, there was sort of less of that, really. So it suggests I think they'll be determined to put it right, and I think that is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
North Reds commented on YouTube saying, "What odds is Kabak to get one today?" That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, tell you what, if he starts, we'll all lump on.
Will we? Yeah, let's do it as a YouTube live or wherever we are. We're not saying to gamble or anything, but it might be. I bet it's about 30 to 1. I bet it'll be long, Josh. I don't think it's very likely.
I don't know how many. I was just gonna say I don't know how many he's got in his career, but
I've seen like 3 in a Twitter video from Schalke. But they were belters, John. Big headers at the. But that is something to note. I think that's that we should be a threat if he starts and Fabinho starts. Suddenly the team gets much taller. And so we should be a much more a greater threat from corners and from set pieces.
Yeah. 1 in 10.
1 in 10.
I'll tell you what, I'll take those odds.
Definitely.
I will take those odds. Okay, we'll leave it there. Neil Barter says in the comments, baked bean head isn't contributed. Yeah, absolutely shite. To be honest, baked bean head.
When baked bean head came in, someone commented saying, "Good to see Andy here," and it's actually quite true.
I mean, Andy is here. He's helping us out. He's pulling this all together, but we're going to let him go because he's got to go and cook a roast or something. It'll be something magic. Check it out on his Instagram. But anyway, nice one, everyone. Cheers for joining us. As I say, get involved with our stuff today, either on Hot Mic or even the post-match stuff. But yeah, enjoy it wherever you're watching it, up the Reds, and hopefully we'll all be smiling tonight.